We'll be getting started in just a few.
You're welcome. Let's make our way to this general area. And
I'm going to sit here. Coach, John, do this. Do that.
Hello. Hello. All right, working.
I like it. That's what we wanted to hear.
So where's the person gonna be?
Wherever you set up, probably.
I'm good wherever.
I
All right, we're just sitting down, everyone who's listening online, and we'll be ready in a few minutes. In the meantime, you can say hi to Lauren and Vicky.
yeah. Do we lower that slightly so that people can stand behind it? I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. Just so it's not in. Yeah.
Love it.
Well,
here, Willow.
oh, that's what that was the tripod case. That's handy.
Mary says
Mary
it's working
Front
well.
says it's working amazingly well. Awesome.
So probably 4 or 5 minutes. We've still got people arriving. People are gonna settle down.
Okay. Barbara Allen.
We're gonna settle down. Yes, sir.
I hear my name.
Yep. You get it set up.
I hear my name.
Yeah, we'll do that at the field house tomorrow. Yeah, it's just I'll send you a link and then I'll give you a 2-minute explanation. No, at the field house in the
Okay.
Let's settle up.
An adaptation to the plan. Let's form a semicircle around the speakers so that we can hear them. Okay. We have
speaker
to.
there.
The speaker.
I'll be here.
The speaker
right.
will be here, and we'll just make a semicircle around.
So
Excuse me.
Yes?
We're streaming online here to people, and this is the mic.
Okay.
So we'll just have to hold it like that.
Okay. Albert.
This is the mic for the people who are online.
Okay. Do you want to pin it there somewhere?
We can pin it, or you can just hold it, whatever you prefer.
Oh, no, I didn't pin it, please.
All right, you're pinned. Is that okay?
Yeah.
yeah, or even John, you're welcome to use this chair. Yeah. Well.
For whoever wants to sit. Okay, for whoever wants to sit, have a seat.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're dead. Oh, okay.
Maybe come on a little bit closer if then you'll hear me. Don't be shy. Ready to go?
Ready to go. Let me introduce Albert Dumont, Algonquin elder and spiritual advisor. Right?
Okay, very good. Yep, it's good to be here, and I hope everybody can hear me okay. I want to say this first off. I wasn't fortunate enough to meet Elisabeth or Lyle, but I do know members of her family, so I'm very honored to be here and help out with this. I think it's good for me to start off with something about empathy. It's a story that was told to me from a deathbed at Maycourt Hospice. One of the things that I volunteer to do in the community is to help people who are dying to cross over. And there was an 86 Caucasian lady who was dying of pancreatic cancer. I think it was probably around 20 years ago. And she had worked in the United States as a young woman with the indigenous communities in the United States. She had worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and she worked at economic development. So when she retired, she came back to Ottawa and lived out her final years here, but she was 86 years old. And whenever she wanted an indigenous spiritual advisor to help her process this big thing that was happening in her life, where she had only weeks to live. She had 6 weeks left to live whenever I met her. And she told me about the affection she had for the indigenous people in the United States and their ways. She said they had gentle ways, they were sharing and so generous. And she said that above all, she really respected their spiritual beliefs. So she asked me to help her out, and I'd never met her before, but she had contacted the Kumik Lodge, and they asked me if I'd do this, and I agreed. Anyway, we got to be very good friends. Her name was Miriam, and she lived about close to 7 weeks. I visited with her a couple of times a week at Maycourt Hospice. And she told me this story about, she was based out of Utah, in the United States, and she told me this story from the indigenous people in Utah. So the story could be thousands of years old. And one of the things about our traditional teaching stories is that as long as there's going to be human beings, these stories will pack a punch, because all these stories that are passed on from one generation to the next, they're told to make a human being a better human being. So the story is about a community long, long ago. And in the community, there was a man and a woman living. And something had happened between the two of them. And the woman's heart was heavy with pain that the man's actions had put into her heart. And the story says, it doesn't say what he did, but the story said he was very remorseful for what he had done, and he apologized profusely to the woman for his actions. And she said to him, I don't think you have any idea of the pain your actions have put in my heart. She says, I have a weight in my heart because of what you did. And the man said, I will do anything to prove to you how sorry I am. And the woman said, she picked up a rock, maybe only about this size. It only weighs about maybe 3 pounds. And she said to him, if you are truly sorry, I want you to carry this rock on your person every day until such a time in the future where the weight that your actions put into my heart are no longer there. And the man agreed, and he took the rock home with him. He got his wife to make a sling and a pouch for it, and he had it over his shoulder, and he had it with him all the time. It was with him when he fished, it was with him when he hunted, it was with him when he played lacrosse. It was with him all the time. And whenever he chanced to meet that woman in the community, he would apologize to her again, and she would say, the weight that your actions put into my heart are still there. And the story said the seasons went by into years, and the man carried the rock. Until one day, the woman came up to him and she said, today you could put the rock down, because today the weight that your actions put into my heart are no longer there. So the story said the man put the rock down, and he feasted and he celebrated, but not because he was free of the rock. He feasted and celebrated because that woman was free of that weight that his actions had put into her heart. When you think about this, it's all about empathy and trying to understand about what you did to somebody else that was hurtful. And it's not enough just to say, I'm sorry. And a lot of, I honestly, I don't know too many men who would carry a rock with them until the woman that they hurt was healed up. So like I said, this story could be thousands of years old, but we need to understand about forgiveness because she forgave him that day. We need to understand about empathy. And I want to say, you know, that I've done many fasting ceremonies in my life. And whenever Indigenous people say their prayer, whenever the physical communicates to the spiritual, they always acknowledge those things that came first. We call them all our relations. The birds, the animals, the trees and the fish, the rivers and the winds and the sun and the moon. We acknowledge all those things first because we know that those things came here before human beings that were ever created. So it's just the right thing to do. And whenever I used to first, when my sobriety began in 1988, and I was first doing ceremonies, I would acknowledge all the things except for the insects. I forgot about them. But one night, I was fasting for 4 days and 4 nights in the forest in a circle, going without food and water for 4 days and 4 nights, and that's something I've done often. In my old age, I don't have the stamina anymore, but I many times I did it. And I kept the fire going every hour that I was fasting. And one day, a bumblebee started buzzing around in the circle, because you mark out a circle, maybe as wide as this circle, with tobacco, and you sit in the center of the circle, and you don't move from there. You stay there for 4 days and 4 nights. Anyway, the bumblebee stayed with me all day, and I was wondering, what's this bee doing around me like this? And then nighttime fell, and it was still there buzzing around me, and then it hit me. The bee was saying to me, hey, we're important. We do good work. Don't forget about us. And so from then on, I always acknowledged the insects too. And you know, I'm holding tobacco, and this rock is part of my bundle. It's got a face on it, and it's just naturally there. And I never. I promised that I would never kill a bug again outside. And I never have. Like, I mean, I've been stung by bees, horse flies, deer flies, mosquitoes, black flies, and I might shove a black fly off because they keep biting you and biting you over and over again. I just shove it off, but I don't kill them. That's a promise I made to that bumblebee that time. They pollinate. They're necessary, you know. I don't know if it was David Suzuki or somebody said that if the bees ever die out, human beings won't be long behind them. We need bees. The people should never hurt bees, you know. You see people with poisons and they attack a bee's nest. That's never hurt anybody. They say, oh, it's too close to my house and I'm afraid it's going to sting somebody. They won't sting anybody if you don't go and disturb them. They're not like that. That's the way it is. And whenever I think about a garden, and let's imagine that a garden is kindness. And just like a garden, kindness needs to be tended to and looked after. As soon as the human heart is formed in the birth waters in the womb, Creator places kindness in it. We're born with kindness in our hearts. And it's there for a while. Kids are kind. I remember a First World War veteran telling me when I was 8 years old, he said the prayers of children were the most precious prayers of anybody, better than the Pope's prayers or anybody else's. And he said that's because children don't hate anybody yet. Yet. They don't party late into the night, they don't gamble, they've got no vices. He said to me, you don't hate anybody. And it's true, at 8 years old, I didn't hate anybody. And I'm holding tobacco and I'm holding this rock from my bundle, and I still don't hate anybody. I honestly can't bring myself to hate anybody. Hate doesn't make any sense. And I believe that Elisabeth and Lyle were such people. They had kindness in their hearts. They kept it well by looking after it. We live in a world right now where there's too many people don't know what it's like to have kindness in their hearts. That's why there's massacres happening. That's why there's children being slaughtered, and not enough people care. And those people that do care don't care enough, if you ask me. I'm sure that Elisabeth and Lyle, their hearts would be heavy knowing that these things were happening in the world. I'm a human rights activist, and to me, it's normal and natural to be a human rights activist. It's unnatural and abnormal not to be. Whenever human beings don't care about other human beings wherever they are on this planet, something's gone off the rails with that person. And nobody should be afraid to speak up, because it doesn't take courage to do what's right. It's just expected of you from your human heart. So I just want to say these things because Lucan is a friend. And it's good to be here. And I hope that everything's going to go well. So, miigwech for inviting me. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to keep a prayer in my mind for everybody here. Miigwech.
Thank you, Albert.
Yep.
And now we're going to hear from William van Geest. Ecology, yeah, from Ecology Ottawa.
Here.
Okay.
Just turn this.
Thank you. Great. Hi, everybody. I am honored and pleased to be here. I am William van Geest, van Geest, for those who are able to do the guttural G in Dutch, from Ecology Ottawa, and Lucan asked me to provide some context as to why we're here today. So I'll just do my best at that. So in early 2023, about 2 years ago, we were approached by Lyle Young, whom you know far better than I do, about a project that he had in mind. He wanted to create a memorial to his beloved late wife, Elisabeth Salm, and particularly a pollinator garden, given her love for nature and her experience already tending a garden in the community. The idea quickly arose to revive the monarch meadow just next to us here in Stanley Park. When the monarch meadow had fallen into disuse after remediation efforts in this park by the NCC, Elisabeth made representations to City Council, and specifically Councillor, at the time, Councillor Toby Nussbaum, who's now CEO of NCC, for the meadow's rehabilitation. And Elisabeth also regularly participated in park cleanups. We were honored to be approached by Lyle for this project. But Lyle provided some specification to undertake the project. First, it must be closely connected to the community, ideally with their involvement along its entire course, to reflect Elisabeth's deep commitment to this community throughout her life. Second, the project should provide an opportunity to reflect on truth and reconciliation. Elisabeth was always interested in reconciliation, Lyle said, and she and Lyle were aware of the fact that what we now call Stanley Park has held significance for Indigenous peoples since time immemorial, given its location at the confluence of three rivers. Of course, that's the Ottawa, the Rideau, and the Gatineau. So the first criterion, the involvement of community, was implemented immediately. Representatives of both the New Edinburgh Community Association, NECA, and the Crichton Community Council, CCC, soon joined discussions surrounding the project. And at this point, I want to thank both of those bodies, and particularly Catherine Hall and Alain Rémy La Jeunesse for their involvement with the project. The editors of the New Edinburgh News have also been faithfully conveying project updates all along the way, and for that I want to thank Karen Squires, who's been at the helm of that. And along this criterion, Lyle insisted the word community be part of the name of the garden, which of course is quite a long one, but he insisted. So those who read the New Edinburgh News will be aware that the project has encountered some delays, despite substantial progress on a number of fronts. As this is Ottawa, and those who are from here are aware, there are jurisdictional issues. Stanley Park here is largely federal land, but the province of Ontario actually owns this portion, and it's managed by the City of Ottawa. So all three levels of government. Unfortunately, also the City of Ottawa has paused its approvals of community projects just like this one for over 2 years. And we think we're narrowing down on approvals, but we can't count that chicken in the basket. I think I mixed metaphors there. Sorry about that.
Works.
Yeah. So we were very fortunate in light of these delays from the city to have received help from Councillor Ralston King's office in approving a preliminary version of this project, some initial steps on the ground. And for this, I want to acknowledge Aaron McCracken in Councillor King's office and Maddie Biscaro in the Forestry Service area. So this is why, at least in terms of on the ground, there's not a lot to see. The work that has occurred there is thanks to Sharon Body, our contractor here, who has done a lot of work on invasives and on cleaning. Yeah, let's give her a hand. Sharon loves to be celebrated publicly. So yeah, with the delays that we've experienced and how early we are in the year, this is traditionally the planting weekend of the year. You'll need to take today's ceremony as a promise, or you might think a seed, both figuratively and literally, of what will come when the city grants full approvals. So one other aspect of this project, and this relates to the second criterion that Lyle imposed, is his request for a web page with information about the project, information about Elisabeth, information about the Monarch Meadow and its history, the history of Stanley Park, including the Indigenous presence in this area. And so we're planning on that as well once we can get some plants in the ground. So more specifically about today's event, we've created a sign with information about the project that you'll find on the site there. So you can get into the site. You'll see a couple flower pots just off the path here, and then you'll see the display there. And on the display, there's a map of the what we have submitted for the site, a list of the plants, a couple images of existing native plants we're nurturing, and then plants we intend to put in, as well as a summary of the origins of the project in there, and a letter from Ralston King, Councillor Ralston King, that I'll be reading momentarily. So we invite you to wander around on the site and envision what we will plant once these approvals are through. I should point out that the site is not large. In general, the more human access to a site, the less there is for pollinators. And of course, this is in part to support pollinators. So please be respectful of the paths that you'll see in there. But Lyle also wanted the site to be contemplative. And so we want to invite you to contemplate while you're in the site. Contemplate on Lyle, contemplate on Elisabeth. And I understand that friends of Lyle and Elisabeth will be providing a rock that will have a plaque on it for specifically that purpose once the garden can be planted. In closing, my portion anyway, I want to reiterate what an honor it is to be among you today, friends and family of these remarkable people, members of the New Edinburgh community. So thank you. Yes.
Will there be fencing around it just to protect it from dogs?
We're not planning it. Sharon has, the question was whether there'll be fencing around the site. We're not planning it at the moment. Sharon is a bit of a master at using plants actually to prevent dogs from coming in. But yeah, we'll work on that when it comes. Happy to take any other questions about the site and the project.
Yeah, anybody who wants to know about the site, I'll go down there, I'll be in there, you can just ask me whatever you'd like. Yeah.
Great. So we originally, on the request of Lucan, invited Toby Nussbaum, whom I mentioned earlier, who was city councillor, whom Elisabeth approached, and who is now CEO of the National Capital Commission, to give a few words, and he very generously agreed. Unfortunately, a couple days ago, we received word that he would be unable to come today, but he asked that I would read a few words on his behalf. So I will do that. To the family and friends of Elisabeth and Lyle, please accept my best wishes on the occasion of the dedication of the community pollinator garden. This quiet place of beauty within the city is a fitting memorial to Elisabeth and Lyle. It very appropriately reflects their appreciation for nature and all its wonders, and symbolizes their conduct as active and selfless members of their many communities. Throughout my years living in this area, and particularly during my time serving as city councillor, I had the privilege of meeting Elisabeth and Lyle. Their sense of engagement and responsibility to better their world was notable and commendable. They truly led by example. In particular, their dedication to issues of environmental sustainability gave me great inspiration and encouragement as someone who shared their belief of the importance of lowering our carbon footprint. As advocates of active transportation and supporters and volunteers of Ecology Ottawa, they didn't hesitate to put their values into action. I look forward to visiting this spot and being reminded of the goodness and beauty in this world, as exemplified by this garden and the lives of Elisabeth and Lyle. Thank you. So we also invited Councillor King, whom I mentioned earlier was key to getting this project as far along as it is with the approvals. Unfortunately, Councillor King was unable to attend as well, but likewise he sent a few words that he asked me to read. And he wanted to just express his regret that he was unable to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone, from Councillor King. We gather here in a place of natural beauty and quiet reflection, nestled within Stanley Park and New Edinburgh Park, to celebrate the lives of two truly remarkable people, Lyle Young and Elisabeth Salm. This meadow, which will bear their names as the Elisabeth C. Salm and Lyle R. Young Community Pollinator Garden, stands as a living tribute to their love, their legacy, and their deep commitment to the New Edinburgh community. The loss of Lyle and Elisabeth is one that our community feels profoundly. They were, in every sense of the word, the very essence of the meaning of community. Through countless hours of volunteer work, acts of quiet generosity, and unwavering service, they showed us what it truly means to live in harmony with others and with the natural world. Elisabeth was a nurturer in every way, a kind, gentle, and warm soul whose intelligence and compassion touched everyone who had the joy of knowing her. She was a tireless volunteer, a pillar of her church, a passionate conservationist, and above all, a woman of great tenderness and integrity. Her tragic passing in 2018 was a devastating loss, not just to her loved ones, but to the countless lives she touched through her selflessness and quiet strength. Lyle brought warmth and light wherever he went. He was a bright spirit who lifted others through his faith, kindness, and joyful nature. Together, Lyle and Elisabeth lived lives of deep purpose, humility, and grace. Their enduring partnership was a model of shared values and devotion to each other, to their community, and to a better world. Their faith guided them. Their actions inspired us. Their love for life, nature, and neighbor left a mark that will not fade. Today, we do more than remember them. We renew the spirit of what they lived for. This garden, tended now by the hands of our community, will bloom with the same care and beauty they poured into everything they did. It will welcome bees, even the bumblebees that needed to remind Albert of their existence. They're already here. It will welcome bees, butterflies, and people alike, a space of peace and quiet restoration. I want to acknowledge the tireless work of the New Edinburgh Community Alliance, Friends of New Edinburgh Park, and Ecology Ottawa, and all those who are working to restore this meadow. It is through your efforts that this garden will serve as a sanctuary, not just for pollinators, but for people. A place to reflect, to heal, and to remember. May this garden bring comfort and peace to all who visit. May it restore your spirit, just as Lyle and Elisabeth so often restored the spirits of others. And may it inspire us to follow their example, to give, to care, and to serve. We will carry their memory forward in the work we do, in the lives we touch, and in every bloom that rises from this earth. Thank you. Why'd you take that off? Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will hear from Chris Minnis, who will read some words by Bruce Heyer, who is the former deputy leader of the Green Party. Okay. And Chris Minnis, where are you? Okay. And Chris is has a beautiful project in Wakefield, Quebec called Eco Echo. And
Hi, our Eco Echo is an environmental campus in Wakefield, Quebec. So we have been welcoming kids and turning them into green people or greener people for about 20 years now. And to be at church with Lyle and Elisabeth in the spirit of Christian Science and their good works just resonates so beautifully with me today. I'm grateful to be able to speak on behalf of Bruce Heyer, and he wishes he could be here very much. Bruce says, Lyle and Elisabeth were wonderful people. When he was struggling daily with hostility in the House of Commons, their home on the river was an oasis of calmness and generosity. They were thoughtful, caring, loving people who shared their love with others and all other life forms on the planet. They worked hard to make this world a better place. They're excellent examples of why Bruce often asks himself the age-old question, why do the good die young? He will miss them deeply, as we will, too.
And now we will hear from Mundi Salm, sister, my sister and Elisabeth Salm's sister. And Roland and Florence Salm's sister. Roland,
Thank you. Yeah. So there's going to be a little bit of repetition with what other people have said here, but I wanted to give a story about Elisabeth and also Lyle in spirit of this garden. So I'm really delighted to be here. We've been waiting for this day for a really long time. And so next week it will be exactly 7 years ago since our sister Elisabeth Christina Salm, since her life was snuffed out in a brutal and completely unexpected act of violence. 7 years has felt like a very long time to get closure on this. Even the final conclusion of the trial, which lasted an unheard of 4.5 years because of the delays of the lockdown and other legal procedures, and which led to life imprisonment for Elisabeth's murderer, has given very little comfort. We, her loved ones, have tried to make sense of this traumatic event in different ways, both personal and collective. An immediate action by Elisabeth's husband, Lyle, was to create a fund in her name in order to raise money to be able to do something she would find meaningful. In my own sense-making process, I've been rereading a lot of old letters and emails we used to write to one another. Elisabeth's love and caring for the world and her concerned big sisterliness shone throughout. A major recurring theme in Elisabeth's life was to live in full awareness of the connection between our actions and the environment. Our mother was a passionate organic gardener, and our father worked in forestry, and both of them taught us to appreciate wild nature. Our father, together with a high school teacher, even established an outdoor education center for youths near Arundel that is still going strong today. In Quebec, Arundel, Quebec. Elisabeth took over our parents' love of nature. She had an affinity for science and studied geology and biology at Carleton University. During her studies and afterwards, she worked as a geologist in remote locations in Canada. Besides studying the rocks, she always took loads of photos of the plants and made beautiful Christmas and birthday cards from them to send to people. However, not many years into this lucrative career, Elisabeth decided that it wasn't for her. She loved being in the wilderness, but what she was doing was not helping the environment, and so she quit working for the mining industry. At that point, when she was in her late 20s, she had a base in Thunder Bay. When she would come, oh, thank you. Thank you. When she would come into the city, she would spend her days off working as an environmental activist. Elisabeth's letters from that time were full of actions around cleaning up the Great Lakes and trying to get the city of Thunder Bay to reduce packaging and introduce the blue box recycling program, which wasn't policy yet at that point. She also joined extensive kayak, canoe, and camping trips in the beautiful wilderness around Thunder Bay. Certainly, Elisabeth was never known for dawdling. Until the end, she was always rushing from activity to activity. In 1989, Elisabeth left Thunder Bay and moved to Ottawa, where she married Lyle Young. In him, she found a soulmate who shared her love of people and planet and wanting to help the world. Their honeymoon was a canoe trip in the Rideau Lakes system, Elisabeth having prepared all their meal packets for camping along the way. Love of the environment shone clearly in their lifestyle choices. Early on, they ditched their cars and became avid cyclists and kept packaging down to a minimum. They moved to Stanley Avenue in beautiful New Edinburgh neighborhood in 1996 and made an eco-extension to their house for Lyle's home office, which they topped with a wonderful extended balcony and where they could really feel close to Stanley Park and the Rideau River behind their house. They loved their neighborhood, they loved their neighbors, and the wonderful green space very much. And writing this, I realized that Lyle lived here just short of 30 years. Both of them were always busy, as has already been said, with their many church and community activities. And in the mix, Elisabeth volunteered for activities with Ecology Ottawa, including facilitating discussions around the climate. The last years of Elisabeth's life, there was one thing in the neighborhood she hankered after, and also discussed it with Toby Nussbaum, as was already mentioned. That was to reinstate the Pollinator garden in Stanley Park, which had been abandoned after the city rehabilitated the park because of soil contamination. The garden didn't get reinstated while she was alive, but Lyle brought up this strong wish already in the week after her untimely death. Lyle spent quite some effort on seeing if reinstating the Pollinator garden also resonated with the broader New Edinburgh community. Always mindful, he didn't want to push the garden nor the idea of it having Elisabeth's name, but gently brokered for the project to be carried by the community. In retrospect, this was very wise. If he had been carrying it alone, we would not be standing here today. It's very sad that Lyle isn't here today to witness it, but I am, and we are, so thankful that this beautiful idea is finally coming to fruition. Throughout all that has happened since Elisabeth died, it's a major comfort, a light behind the clouds for us, has been the idea that Elisabeth's idea, that her wish would come true, to establish a space in Stanley Park to not only attract and nourish biodiversity, but also to be a place of beauty for people to enjoy coming together, to maintain it, to sit by it, and to enjoy this space. Lyle and Elisabeth were all about love and giving, and we hope that this garden will be cherished in this light. 108 donations were made to the Elisabeth Christina Salm Fund, raising a total of $16,031 towards the garden's plant material. Also a donation of Lyle's group of good friends from high school in Saskatchewan, including John McCormack in the back, who is here today with us. They'll contribute a big rock to serve as a bench, which is an unintentional but lovely nod to Elisabeth's geologist days. I think. While the initial idea was to name the garden after Elisabeth, Lyle's untiring and gentle brokering of this idea also made us want to add his name to the garden as well. Thank you for all the generous donations, as well as all the hard work of volunteers already past and to come. This is a great day. I'm so happy this is happening. That's it.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Lauren Young, brother of Lyle Young.
Well, where's Mundi? Thank you, Mundi. Sorry, I think Lyle's here. as we sat here, I was reminded, Vicky and I were here 3 weekends ago, 4 perhaps, and it was the first time we'd been here together since Lyle had passed. I'd come down a number of times with different people. And Saturday night we went out for something to eat over at the pub, and we were walking back along this fairy trail. And at the field house, we noticed this black cat. And the black cat started to follow us. Sorry, can't look at you, Dale. The black cat started to follow us, and we took our time, and it was about a half an hour to go from here to their place, because we would stop and look out and appreciate the sky and different things. And every time we stopped, the cat stopped. Every time we went on, the cat came on. And anyways, we got home. Vicky opened the door, and zoom, the cat went right in the house, all the way in, ran up the stairs. So, like, before I'm even in, that cat's already up the stairs. And so, well, got to deal with the cat, right? So I went up, and I'm turning the lights on, and the cat comes out of their bedroom and looks around the corner at me like this, and then backs up, and I turn the next light on, and the cat runs down the stairs, out the open door, and that was that. And I think he's here. Anyways, enough of those stories. No, I wasn't sure if I was going to prepare something or not, and finally today I did prepare something. And I just want to say, Lyle and Elisabeth were 2 really amazing people, and they made each other more amazing. And they never stopped learning. They never stopped trying to improve, whether it was themselves, their actions, the lives of those who they touched, and they touched a lot of lives. They had a profound sense of community, as we've heard a bit today. For them, I think community started with family, and then it extended out from there. Friends and neighbors, church community, people they met on the street, anyone with shared interests, cycling, canoeing, camping. I'll let you pin this back on. That's going to help me stay grounded. Did it bust?
You broke it.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm the last speaker. It's hard to do this. There we go. Okay. So anyone who shared their interests. But they were also people with a very large worldview. And they understood that the whole world is one community. And what's good for one person is good for everyone else. And they understood that if we lift someone up, then we're lifting everyone up, and that includes ourselves. And that we're all related, and we're all in relation with each other. Lyle and Elisabeth took this perspective of community and tried to apply it in all the aspects of their lives. They had a deep understanding of man's and woman's relationship to the natural world. The animals, the plants, the earth, the water, the air that we breathe. They understood the importance of harmony and balance in all things. And they understood that a healthy community or a healthy natural world is made up of the health of its members, whether it be the plants, the insects, the animals, or the humans. They understood the need for clean air and clean water, and they understood that it was wiser to use what you need in moderation than to use more than you need, or to use some things that you don't need, or to simply create imbalance through waste and excess. They understood that the smallest among us still had an important contribution. For them, the sense of community, of respect of all things, of the desire to continually grow and to improve and to serve, these were the things that they brought into their daily life. Lyle and Elisabeth loved nature, they loved Ottawa, and they loved this community of New Edinburgh, and they touched the lives of us all. I think the dedication of this pollinator garden is really a wonderful way to honor and respect their values and to carry on their legacy and their memory. Thanks.
Okay. Hi. So now we'll have a few closing words from Albert Dumont. And after that, please join us for a community potluck at the field house. Here you are.
There's a lot of good words. Miigwech for everybody that spoke and everybody's good energy that was helping out. One of my brothers died when he was 47 years old. He died of brain aneurysm. It was a shock to the family. And I was having a hard time dealing with it because we were 11 months apart. But a visiting elder at the Kumik Lodge was telling me to find peace with it was to look at my brother's honorable traits and to perform one of those honorable traits in his memory. And I know Elisabeth and Lyle had a lot of honorable traits. So if they were kind, do an act of kindness in their memory. If they were generous, do an act of generosity in their memory. Whatever their most honorable traits were, you know them because you knew them, and do that. And it's going to be a good thing. They'll appreciate that. You know, I don't know, I heard somebody say one time, the only thing that's for certain is that nothing is for certain. But there is something that's for certain, that everybody here is going to pass away at some point. And I'm hoping, I'm sure that everybody that's here right now has spiritual beliefs. You have a spirit that's going to continue to live after you physically leave this world. And I don't know about anybody else here, but I know that whenever I leave this world, I want to hear an honor song. It's important to me that my loved ones, my ancestors, will sing an honor song to greet me into that new place. And that's how I try to live my life, to be honorable, to care, to put more and more kindness into my heart, because there can never be enough of it. You know, no teenager will OD from being told, I love you. Somebody said to me one time, I tell my teenager all the time that I love him, and it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. I said, yeah, well, you stop telling him and see what's going to happen. People love to hear it. Somebody say, I love you. We're especially grateful here. We're grateful for our ability to be forgiving. We're grateful for our ability to carry on the love and the kindness of a deceased person, a deceased family member, a deceased community member. We ask these things of you, good Spirit, because of the great respect we have for everything that Creator has made. We ask you now to watch over all of us until we arrive to that place where we will rest tonight. We ask that whenever we arrive there, that we fill that space with health and joy. Miigwech.
Is that it?
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, walk this way.
Okay. To the field house.
For everyone online, we'll be stopping the broadcast now. Thank you.